The silent war, the grand chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Sarah Chen stood up slowly. Her hands were steady, but her eyes burned with quiet anger. Around the massive circular table, representatives from 47 different species watched her every move. "So this is your final decision?" Sarah asked, her voice calm but deadly serious. The Zephyrian ambassador, Crixtal, clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among his people. His blue skin shimmered as he leaned forward in his floating chair. "Humans," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You think you belong here? You think your primitive species deserves a seat at this table?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Altarian delegate nodded her scaled head. The Vorthan representative's tentacles writhed with amusement. Even the normally neutral Keltorians remained silent. Sarah looked around the room one more time. These were the beings humanity had tried so hard to impress. For 50 years, Earth had begged for acceptance into the Galactic Council. They had offered their technology, their resources, their friendship. They had even helped defend smaller species from pirates and raiders, and this was their reward. "The vote is unanimous," announced Chancellor Vextar, the ancient leader of the council. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "Humanity is hereby stripped of all trading privileges. Earth vessels are banned from using our jump gates. Human colonies outside the Sol system must be abandoned within 1 standard year." Sarah felt something break inside her chest, not her heart. That had broken long ago when she realized how these aliens truly saw her people. No, this was something deeper. This was the last thread of hope that maybe, just maybe, humanity could find its place among the stars through peace. "You call us primitive," Sarah said quietly. Her voice carried clearly through the silent chamber. "You mock our technology. You laugh at our customs. You think we are nothing but violent children playing with toys." She turned to face Crixtal directly. The Zephyrian's 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "But let me tell you something about humans," Sarah continued. "We don't forget. We don't forgive easily. And we certainly don't give up." The other human delegates, Admiral Torres, Dr. Kim, and Trade Representative Jackson, stood up beside her. Their faces were stone, their backs straight. They had served as Earth's voice for years, enduring insults and mockery while trying to build bridges. "No more." "You want us gone?" Sarah asked. "Fine, we'll leave. But don't expect us to come crawling back when you need our help." Crixtal laughed again. "Help? What help could primitives like you possibly offer? Your ships are slow. Your weapons are basic. Your technology is centuries behind ours." Sarah smiled then, but it wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the kind of smile that made smart people take a step back. The kind of smile that meant someone was about to make a very dangerous mistake. "You're right," she said. "Our technology is different from yours. Our methods are unique, but that doesn't make us weak." She gathered her files and datapads with slow, deliberate movements. The other humans did the same. For a moment, the only sound in the chamber was the soft rustle of papers and the hum of the life support systems. "When we first reached for the stars," Sarah said, her voice growing stronger, "we knew we were alone. We knew nobody was coming to save us if we failed, so we learned to save ourselves." She walked toward the exit, her team following behind her. At the doorway, she stopped and turned back one final time. "You think this is victory?" she asked. "You think you've put humanity in its place? You have no idea what you've just done." The silence stretched for long seconds. Some of the alien delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The old Keltorian elder, Morden, watched Sarah with ancient, knowing eyes. "Goodbye, Council," Sarah said simply. "Don't bother trying to contact us. We won't be answering." As the human delegation walked out, their footsteps echoing in the corridor beyond, the council chamber erupted in celebration. Aliens laughed and congratulated each other. The dangerous humans were finally gone, but Elder Mordun didn't celebrate. He had lived for over 300 years. He had seen species rise and fall. He had watched empires crumble and new ones take their place, and he knew something the others didn't. Humans were not like other species. When you cornered a human, when you took away everything they held dear, they didn't break. They adapted. They evolved. They became something else entirely. As the celebration continued around him, Morden whispered to himself in his ancient language, What have we done? What have we awakened? But his words were lost in the laughter of fools who thought they had won a great victory. They had no idea that the real war was just beginning. The silent years 3. Years had passed since the humans walked away from the Galactic Council. 3 years of perfect silence from the Sol system. Chancellor Vextar stood in his private office, looking out at the stars through the massive viewport. The space around the council station was busy with ships from dozens of species. Trade was flowing smoothly. Pirates had been reduced to almost nothing. Peace reigned throughout the galaxy, see? Crystal said from behind him. The Zephyrian ambassador had requested this private meeting. I told you the humans were nothing but trouble. Without them, everything runs perfectly. Vextar nodded slowly, but something nagged at him. Something felt wrong. Have we heard anything from Earth at all? He asked. Nothing. Crystal replied with satisfaction. No trade requests, no diplomatic messages, no distress signals. It's like they never existed. But that was exactly what worried Vextar. Across the galaxy, other species were starting to notice strange things. Captain Zara of the Altarian Deep Space Fleet was the first to file an official report. We detected massive energy readings from the Sol system 2 weeks ago, she told her commander. The readings were unlike anything in our databases. Her commander, Admiral Thane, frowned. What kind of energy readings? Unknown, sir. Our sensors couldn't identify the source. When we tried to get closer for a better scan, something warned us away. Something warned you? What do you mean? Captain Zara shifted uncomfortably. A message, sir. Very simple. It said, stay away from Sul. This is your only warning. Admiral Thane felt a chill run down his scaled spine. Did you recognize the sender? No, sir. The transmission came from everywhere at once, like the entire solar system was speaking to us. Similar reports began coming in from other species. Forthan scouts detected strange quantum signatures near Earth's colonies. Keltorian traders found human settlements completely empty, but with no signs of struggle or evacuation. Ships and equipment were gone, but personal items remained untouched. It was as if millions of humans had simply vanished overnight. Elder Morden sat in his meditation chamber, reviewing these reports with growing concern. He had tried to warn the council 3 years ago, but nobody had listened. Now the signs were becoming impossible to ignore. His assistant, a young Keltorian named Velshan, entered quietly. Elder, she said, we've received another report. This one is disturbing. Show me. Velshan activated a holographic display. It showed a star map of the Outer Rim territories. 5 more scout ships have disappeared near human space in the past month, she explained. All different species, all experienced crews, all vanished without a trace. Morden studied the map carefully. The disappearances formed a rough circle around Earth's territory like a barrier. They're protecting something, he murmured. Who, Elder? The humans. They didn't disappear. They're hiding, building, preparing. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, something extraordinary was happening. Hidden shipyards worked around the clock in systems the Council had never mapped. Factories that shouldn't exist produced materials using technology that defied known science. And at the center of it all, in a massive space station orbiting a star that didn't appear on any galactic chart, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before a council of beings that would have terrified the galaxy's greatest warriors. The preparations are nearly complete, reported one of her advisors. Dr. Kim had changed in the past 3 years. Her eyes now glowed with a soft blue light, and strange patterns moved beneath her skin like living circuits. How many ships? Sarah asked. 1,000 in the first wave, Admiral Torres answered. He too had been transformed. His voice carried harmonics that seemed to come from multiple dimensions at once. Each one more powerful than anything the Council has ever built. Sarah nodded. She walked to a viewport and gazed out at the fleet under construction. Ships of impossible design floated in the void, their hulls gleaming with energy that bent light around them. They called us primitive, she said quietly. They laughed at our technology. They thought we were children playing with toys. She turned back to her transformed team. Behind them stood figures that had never been seen in Council space. Beings of pure energy, ancient guardians, allies humanity had found in the deepest, darkest corners of the universe. Let them enjoy their peace a little longer, Sarah continued. Let them think they won, because soon, very soon, they're going to learn what humans do when they have nothing left to lose. In the council chambers, Crixtal was giving another speech about the benefits of humanity's absence. But Elder Morden wasn't listening. He was staring at his instruments, watching energy readings spike across the galaxy. The humans were coming back, and they weren't coming back alone. The impossible fleet, the alarm bells in the council defense station screamed like dying animals. Admiral Vexcar rushed to the command center, his massive frame shaking the floor with each step. Report. He roared at the sensor operator. Lieutenant Zixna, a young Vorthan with trembling tentacles, stared at her screen in disbelief. Sir, the sensors must be broken. The readings don't make sense. What readings? Vexcar demanded. 1,000 ships, sir, appearing at the edge of our territory, but that's impossible. Vexcar pushed her aside and looked at the display himself. His blood ran cold. The screen showed a massive fleet arranged in perfect formation, stretching across space like a wall of metal and energy. Where did they come from? He asked quietly. Unknown, sir. They didn't use any jump gates. No wormholes were detected. They just appeared, like they materialized out of nothing. In the council chambers, emergency meetings were already starting. Representatives from dozens of species gathered around the holographic display, showing the mysterious fleet. Panic filled the air like smoke. Who are they? Demanded the Altarian delegate. What do they want? Asked the Vorthan ambassador. Chancellor Vextar studied the ships carefully. Their design was unlike anything in the galactic database. The hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Energy patterns danced across their surfaces in ways that hurt to look at. The ships are huge, reported the chief analyst. Each one is at least 3 times larger than our biggest dreadnought. Energy readings are off the charts. Crixtal pushed forward, his mandibles clicking nervously. This has to be some kind of trick. No one can build ships like that. No one has that kind of technology. Apparently someone does, Elder Morden said quietly from his seat. His ancient eyes held a knowing sadness. The question is who? As if answering his question, a communication signal reached the council station. The main screen flickered to life, showing a transmission from the lead ship of the mysterious fleet. The face that appeared made several council members gasp in shock. Admiral Sarah Chen looked out at them from the screen. But she was different now. Her eyes glowed with soft blue light. Strange patterns moved beneath her skin like living circuits. Her presence radiated power that made even the bravest warriors step back. Greetings, Galactic Council, she said. Her voice carried harmonics that seemed to come from multiple dimensions. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. We request permission to dock and address the Council. The chamber fell completely silent. The same woman they had mocked and dismissed 3 years ago was back. But she was no longer the desperate diplomat begging for acceptance. She was something else entirely. Impossible, Crixtal whispered. The humans don't have the technology to build ships like that. They're primitives. They're nothing. Sarah's enhanced hearing picked up his words across the communication channel. She smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant smile. Hello, Crixtal, she said. Still calling us primitives, I see. Tell me, how does it feel to be wrong about everything? Chancellor Vextar found his voice. Admiral Chen, your fleet is impressive, but we must ask, where did these ships come from? How is this possible? That's a very interesting story, Sarah replied. One that involves ancient powers, forgotten technologies, and allies you never knew existed. But I think it's better told in person. She paused, looking directly at each council member through the screen. We're coming aboard whether you give permission or not, she continued. The question is, do you want to meet us as friends or as the enemies you tried to make us? Admiral Vexcar was studying his tactical displays with growing alarm. Chancellor, he said urgently, our weapons can't lock onto their ships. It's like they exist in multiple dimensions at once. Their energy output is incredible, added the sensor operator. Each ship has more firepower than our entire defense fleet. Elder Morden stood up slowly. We should hear what they have to say. 3 years ago, we made a terrible mistake. Perhaps it's time to fix it. Are you insane? Crixtal shrieked. They could destroy us all. Yes, Morden said calmly. They could. The fact that they haven't yet suggests they want something other than revenge. Sarah's image leaned forward on the screen. We'll be docking in 1 hour. I suggest you prepare a welcoming committee. And Crixtal, the Zephyrian ambassador, flinched. Bring your best apology, Sarah said with that dangerous smile. You're going to need it. The transmission ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. Outside, the impossible fleet moved forward like a force of nature, carrying secrets that would change the galaxy forever. The new humanity, the doors to the council chamber opened with a soft hiss. Admiral Sarah Chen walked in, but she wasn't alone. Every being in the chamber felt their blood freeze. Behind Sarah came figures that shouldn't exist. Humans, but changed beyond recognition. Their eyes glowed with inner light. Strange symbols moved beneath their skin like living tattoos. They moved with perfect coordination, as if sharing one mind. But it wasn't just the transformed humans that made the council members step back in fear. Other beings walked beside them, tall figures made of pure energy that hurt to look at directly, creatures with wings of starlight and voices like cosmic wind, ancient guardians that had watched galaxies being born. The Zephyrian ambassador Crixtal's mandibles clicked uncontrollably. His 4 eyes darted between the impossible visitors. What are you? He whispered. Sarah smiled and took her place at the center of the chamber. The same spot where she had stood 3 years ago as a desperate diplomat. Now she commanded the room like a force of nature. We are what you made us, she said simply. When you cast us out, when you called us primitives, when you laughed at our offers of friendship, you forced us to find our own path. Chancellor Vextar tried to maintain his dignity, but his voice shook. Admiral Chen, we welcome your return. Perhaps we can discuss, Sarah interrupted. The time for discussion ended 3 years ago. Now is the time for truth. She gestured to one of her companions. Dr. Kim stepped forward, her transformation even more dramatic than Sarah's. Blue energy flowed through her veins like liquid light. While you fought over trade routes and political power, Dr. Kim said, we explored the deep void, the spaces between galaxies where ancient things sleep. Another figure moved into the light. Admiral Torres, now more machine than man, his body a perfect fusion of flesh and impossible technology. We found the ruins of civilizations older than your oldest myths, he continued. We learned their secrets. We earned their trust. One of the energy beings spoke, its voice echoing from everywhere at once. The humans came seeking knowledge, not conquest. They offered service, not demands. They proved themselves worthy of gifts we have not given in 1,000,000 years. Elder Morden leaned forward, his ancient mind struggling to understand. What gifts? Sarah walked to the center of the chamber. With a gesture, a holographic display appeared in the air. It showed star charts unlike anything the Council had ever seen. The technology to travel between dimensions, she said. The power to manipulate matter at the quantum level. The ability to communicate across impossible distances instantly. The display changed, showing images of the human fleet. Our ships don't just fly through space, Sarah continued. They exist in multiple realities at once. They can appear anywhere, anytime. Your weapons can't touch them because they're not entirely in your dimension. Crixtal found his voice, though it cracked with fear. But why? Why show us this? Why not just destroy us? Sarah's expression softened slightly. Because that's not who we are. Yes, you hurt us. Yes, you rejected us. But we didn't gain all this power just to get revenge on petty bullies. She turned to face the entire council. We came back because something is coming. Something that makes our new abilities look like children's toys. The chamber fell silent. Even the energy beings seemed to grow more intense. What's coming? Chancellor Vextar asked quietly. One of the ancient guardians stepped forward. Its form shifted between states of matter as it spoke. The Devourers. The endless hunger. They consumed entire galaxies before your species learned to make fire. Dr. Kim activated another display. It showed a wave of darkness spreading across space, leaving nothing but empty void behind. They're coming here, she said. Our dimensional sensors detected them 6 months ago. They'll arrive in this galaxy within 2 years. Your council fleet, Admiral Torres added, would last approximately 17 minutes against their advanced scouts. The weight of this revelation crashed over the council like a tidal wave. Species that had spent decades fighting over resources and territory suddenly realized how small and helpless they really were. "Why tell us this?" asked the Altarian delegate. "If we're so weak, why warn us?" Sarah looked around the chamber one final time. "Because despite everything you did to us, we still believe in what this council could be. Not a group of petty politicians fighting over scraps, but a true alliance of species working together." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The Devourers don't care about your politics. They don't care about trade disputes or territorial claims. They consume everything equally. The only way to survive is to stand together." Crystal's voice was barely a whisper. "What? What do you want from us?" Sarah's enhanced eyes met his. "Nothing. We're offering everything. Our technology, our allies, our protection. The question is, are you finally ready to accept it?" The chamber held its breath, waiting for an answer that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The real enemy, the silence in the council chamber, stretched like a held breath. Every alien representative stared at Admiral Sarah Chen, weighing her words against their pride, their fear, their very survival. Chancellor Vextar was the first to speak. "You're asking us to trust the species we cast out. The species we called primitive." "No," Sarah replied calmly. "I'm asking you to trust the species that came back to save you anyway." Elder Morden rose from his seat, his ancient joints creaking. "I have lived for 3 centuries. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves through pride and stubbornness." He looked directly at Crystal. "We made a terrible mistake 3 years ago. Now we have a chance to fix it." The Zephyrian ambassador's mandibles clicked frantically. "But they could be lying. This could be a trick to make us surrender." Dr. Kim stepped forward, her transformed features glowing with patient light. "If we wanted to conquer you, would we need tricks?" She gestured toward the viewport where the massive human fleet waited in perfect formation. "Each of our ships could destroy this entire station. We could have taken the galaxy without firing a shot." "Then why didn't you?" demanded the Vorthan representative. Admiral Torres answered, his voice carrying harmonics from multiple dimensions. "Because conquest without purpose is meaningless. We didn't spend 3 years learning from ancient guardians just to become tyrants." One of the energy beings spoke, its words echoing through the chamber. "The humans proved themselves through service, not dominance. They earned our trust by helping others, not by taking what they wanted." Sarah walked to the center of the chamber and activated a new holographic display. It showed real-time sensor data from the edge of the galaxy. "The Devourer's advanced scouts crossed into our space yesterday," she announced. 6 planets in the outer rim went silent in the last 12 hours. The display showed systems winking out of existence one by one. Where thriving worlds had been, only empty void remained. "They don't conquer," Sarah continued. "They don't enslave. They consume everything. Matter, energy, life itself. They leave nothing behind but darkness." The council members stared at the display in growing horror. The Altarian delegate's scales turned pale. The Keltorian representative's breathing became rapid and shallow. "How long do we have?" Chancellor Vextar asked quietly. 18 months until they reach the core worlds," Admiral Torres replied. 6 months until they reach council space. "What can we do?" whispered the Vorthan ambassador. "If they're that powerful, what hope do we have?" Sarah smiled, and for the first time in 3 years it was a genuinely warm expression. "More hope than you know. Humanity isn't the only species the ancients have helped. We've been building an alliance across multiple galaxies." The holographic display changed to show star maps beyond the known galaxy. Fleets of impossible ships moved through dimensions the Council had never imagined. "The Eternal Watchers from the Andromeda Galaxy," Sarah explained. "The crystal minds from beyond the local group. The void dancers who exist between realities. All united against the Devourers." "And they'll fight for us?" asked Elder Morden. "They'll fight with us," Sarah corrected. "This isn't about humans saving aliens or ancients protecting primitives. This is about all life in the universe standing together against the end of everything." Krixtal stood up slowly, his entire body trembling. For 3 years he had told himself that casting out the humans was the right choice, that they were dangerous, primitive, unworthy of respect. Now he saw the truth. Humanity had become something magnificent not despite their rejection, but because of how they had chosen to respond to it. "I was wrong," he said, his voice breaking. "We were all wrong. You offered us friendship and we gave you insults. You offered us partnership and we gave you exile." He looked directly at Sarah. "Can you forgive us?" Sarah walked over to the Zephyrian ambassador. For a moment the chamber held its breath. Then she extended her hand in the ancient human gesture of peace. "We already have," she said simply. Krixtal took her hand with his own trembling claws. Around the chamber, other representatives began to stand, their decision made. "What do you need from us?" Chancellor Vextar asked. "Everything," Sarah replied. "Your fleets, your resources, your courage. But most importantly, your unity. The Devourers feed on division and fear. They cannot consume what stands together." Elder Morden smiled, his ancient face creasing with relief. "Then we stand together." The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, every species in the Council agreed on something. Not because they had to, but because they chose to. As alarms began sounding across the galaxy, calling all fleets to battle stations, Sarah looked out at the stars. The real war was beginning, but for the first time in years, she felt hope. Humanity had walked away from a broken council as outcasts. They were returning as guardians of the galaxy. And when the Devourers came, they would find not scattered, squabbling species, but a united front stronger than anything the universe had ever seen.